In this video, I'm gonna be breaking down the business model of what you would need for a $100,000 per month concrete company. Everything that you need to get off the ground step by step, from getting leads, closing deals, and everything else you would need to know about running a concrete business. In case you don't know me and wondering why the heck you should be listening to me, my name is Tyler Link, and I own 50% of a concrete company that I've scaled to over $4 million per year in the past 8 years. And I also own Concrete CEO, where we've actually serviced over 400 concrete companies at this point, helping them get more sales, get more leads, and basically just make more money. There's a lot that we have to discuss in this video, and one of the first things that I need to mention is I do not sell a course, okay? On the back end in Concrete CEO, we help people implement these strategies that I talk about on YouTube so you can get the result faster. All of the info that it actually takes to run a concrete company, I actually give for free on platforms like this, like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, etc., where you could actually take this information and just go out and earn tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars more money. Like for instance, my goal with this video here is for you to just take away golden nuggets that you could just take and immediately apply in your own business and make more money. So you do not need to purchase anything from me to make money from the stuff that we're gonna talk about here on YouTube. The only reason that people actually hire me is to implement these same systems that I teach here on YouTube faster into their business, or run their marketing if they have a 7 or 8 figure concrete company. Links for those programs down below in the description. So let's talk about the 7 different things that I'm gonna teach in this video. The very first thing being goals and expectations. We're gonna cover things like how much can you reasonably expect to make in a concrete company in your first year? What about maybe 1 or 2 years down the line, or even a decade? What are some of the obstacles that it might actually take to get to those income levels, and how much does it actually cost to start and set up a concrete company? Number 2 is choosing your actual business model. There's a lot of different ways to run a concrete company. In this section, we're gonna go all through how to identify and pick a route that you personally will excel in. In section 3, we're gonna talk about everything you need to know about actually getting good at concrete itself. Section 4 is all of the tools that you will need to run your concrete company. Section 5 is all about building your team, who to hire, how to manage them, and what do they actually do inside your business. Section 6 is all about how you actually get customers and the growth strategy of actually how do you grow to $100,000 a month. And then number 7 is all about knowing your numbers and the numbers of what it actually looks like to run a successful concrete business. So without further ado, let's just get into section number 1, which is all about goals and expectations. Basically, what should you think about getting into a concrete company? And the first question that I actually get from people all the time is why even own a concrete business versus all of the other types of businesses out there, whether you could get into marketing, like a social media company, AI, there's so many different business models you could actually get into. Why would you actually get into concrete? Number 1, and what I really like about it, is it's AI and tech proof, okay? So basically, the day that AI and tech and robots take over concrete, basically at that point, there's gonna be nothing else in the world for humans to do. So I actually really like these types of service-based businesses because at the end of the day, think about it, there is concrete everywhere. It is the biggest building material that we have all across the globe, and it's needed everywhere, and it's not something that AI is gonna take, it's not something that a robot's gonna take, so there's lots of money to be had, and it's not going away. Another one is there's a lot of income potential available, right? Your average concrete job, even if you're doing smaller projects, is between like $7,000 and $10,000, okay? I also know bigger concrete companies that are averaging between $100,000 to $500,000, even $1 million plus on a per project basis. And it's not all about revenue. Some of the richest people that I know, even growing up as a kid, one of my friend's dads actually owned a concrete company. It was the nicest house I still have ever seen in my life. They actually do $20 million a year. Another question that I get asked all the time is how much money can I actually make inside concrete? And that's a great question. And there's a couple different things. Number 1 is in your first year setting up a business, I've seen people make, as far as profit, between $100,000 and $300,000 on the high end, which for getting into business and making profit in your first year is exceptional. I've also seen tons of people, if they don't know what they're doing, who could basically crash and burn, right? 90% of small businesses fail, including concrete. So if you don't know what you're doing, you have a very high likelihood of failure, which is why Concrete CEO even exists, because people pay me to actually put this stuff together for them and help them along the way. As an example of a success story though, is my very first coaching client ever. And the reason why I bring him up is because he's had the actual most amount of time since starting to work with him until now. It's been about 3 years, and this year he actually surpassed me, which is mind-boggling, but he's doing $5 million a year. Granted, am I the one that caused all that success? Absolutely not. I helped him get started, I helped teach him the ropes, and he is just a total badass, and he took that and ran with it and is now doing over $5 million a year just within 3 years. The main difference between people that are making a lot of money and people that are not really making any money at all are a couple factors. Number 1, it's not just about being in concrete and doing revenue. There's tons of people who do revenue in concrete and make no money. So it's all based on your level of competence and knowledge on how to actually not just generate revenue, but actual income. And the number two thing that I've noticed is the most common variable is just time, right? Most of the people that I know, and even some of the companies that I'm working with as an agency inside Concrete CEO, they've been around for 50 years in business. And yeah, they're doing $15 million a year, and the owner is making $2 million plus of income every single year, like take-home income in the bank. But yeah, it took 50 years to get there. So what I will say is getting in concrete, you can absolutely make money and it absolutely can come quick. But to get really wealthy, I've never seen anyone do it in under 5 to 10 years. So if you're gonna get into the concrete business, I'd expect to be in it for a long time if you really wanna see the biggest reward. What are some of the common obstacles that I see people run into when starting their concrete business? And one of the main things is this is a demand constrained business. So let me explain what that means. There's some businesses that are on the opposite end, which are supply constrained, meaning that there's not enough supply for how much people want. That's a great business to be in, but it's very frustrating. Think of mechanics, for instance. There's a lot of people who need their cars fixed, and there's actually not very many mechanics. So a lot of mechanics, they can't actually find good mechanics. Like if you run a mechanic shop, you can't find them. You have to pay these guys like $150K a year to be a mechanic because there's just too much demand for the supply. Concrete is the opposite problem. It's a demand constrained business, meaning that there's not enough people asking for work compared to concrete guys. There's so many concrete guys, it is extremely competitive. So the name of the game, if you want to get good in concrete, especially going after just normal, say residential homeowners, is you have to get really good at sales and marketing because that's how you stand out. It's how good can you attract clients and how good can you sell them, because all kinds of people are going to be willing to service that customer. You just have to be better at finding and selling them and ultimately servicing them to get more repeat business. What is the cost to start a concrete company? Well, that's a great question. And it all depends on how you do it, which we're going to get into some of the details here in a little bit. But I've seen people start concrete companies with quite literally $0. Like all they did, and when I say zero, really like say under $500. They might sign up for some tools that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. So like a CRM, QuickBooks, for instance. And they already own a truck, they already own a couple small tools, and then really they're just signing up to basically legalize their business, like getting an LLC, for instance, which all costs under $500. That doesn't mean that that is the way that everyone starts a concrete business. Some people want to buy the truck, they want to buy a skid steer, etc. But none of that stuff is necessary. It is actually so incredibly cheap to start a concrete company. I've even seen people without a truck, just in a car, go door knocking, sell jobs, then go hire someone, sub the job out, and never actually have to invest any money outside of some gas money and some time to actually start selling concrete work. Another question that I get asked all the time, and what you should really pay attention to, is who are you gonna start this business with, right? Are you gonna be like me, where I actually partnered up with my father-in-law starting this business, or are you gonna do it by yourself? There's a lot of pros and cons. What I will say is if you do get into business with someone, make sure that they have similar morals and values to you, they're willing to work just as hard as you, and you have two totally opposite skill sets. Why it worked with me and my father-in-law, for instance, is my father-in-law is an extremely hard worker. He is so talented with concrete. But what was really holding him back is he didn't know how to get proper leads and sell those jobs for a profit. And that was actually just my specialty before I got into concrete. That is why that partnership worked. But what I will say is for every one partnership that I see works, I probably see 5 that fail. So if you do get into it, be careful who you're getting into business with. It's just like marriage. You do not want to marry the wrong spouse because divorce is absolutely terrible. And before you actually partner with someone, what I would really suggest is you create bylaws as an agreement with you and your partner where you basically just state if you guys ever want to break up and not do business together, what does that actually look like? So there is a clear path to basically split up if you guys choose to do that. All right, section number 2 is to choose your business model within concrete. There's a ton of different business models. You can do decorative concrete, you can do standard flat work company. Within standard flat work company, you could do the work yourself, you could sub out the work, you could be a foundation company, you could actually be a concrete pumping company, a saw cutting company. There's so many different types of ways to basically be in the concrete industry. In order to help you basically best decide what type of business is best for you, what I want you to consider at the very beginning is number 1, should it just be a business to consumer brand or a business to business brand, okay? All that means is you are a business. Are you gonna sell to consumers, meaning like homeowners, people who own a home, they want a patio, a driveway, etc.? Or are you gonna sell to businesses, right? Are you gonna sell to GCs? Or are you gonna sell to like new home builders, for instance? And there's a couple key differences with each and certain types of people that would excel in one business model or the other. Here's the benefits of selling direct to consumers. This is what 90% of people actually end up going into, and you'll see why here in a second. Number one is it's easier to actually break into. Getting into basically just normal concrete work with homeowners is very easy. Like I said in the very beginning, there's actually not that much that goes into it. You have to have a legal business name, and you basically need to be able to collect money. That's it. Essentially, all it is going out and selling a job for a price that you could do the job for less money, and then you're in business, okay? So very easy to get into. And you don't actually need that much concrete experience. Like at the end of the day, residential concrete work is extremely simple. Like what you're literally doing is putting a form here, and like this, and then you pour mud in and it turns into a rock. Yes, that is taking away from a little bit of the art of concrete, which is very easy to mess up. But at the end of the day, it's much easier to get into than commercial, right? The other reason why I like it is competition is bad. I don't know about you guys, but how many homeowners in your area complain about contractors not answering their phone, not getting back to them, being rude? It is very easy to excel in B2C, and it's higher margin, okay? So essentially you could just make more money. Homeowners are very nervous to get into business with someone who sucks, and they are emotional. They're willing to pay more for someone who they feel from the heart is gonna do a better job than someone who might be cheaper, but they're nervous about. One last benefit is this faster cash. As soon as you finish the job, you should be getting paid. But what are some of the cons? Most likely, you won't be able to grow this business into 8 figures plus. Like if you wanna do over $10 million B2C in concrete, there's truly just not that many brands that are doing that. Like for instance, even here in my local market, I'm doing $4 million B2C, and even my suppliers say that we are the largest company in my area doing that amount of volume of residential concrete work. Granted, if you wanted to grow it, you certainly could. You just have to branch out in different geographies. If I wasn't running Concrete CEO, how I'd make more money is I'd open up another location over here, another over here, different states. I'd basically just grow geographically. So you can't grow it as big in one area as you can more of a B2C company. Another con is you're constantly looking for new work. Like I said, the name of the game with this business is basically sales and marketing. That is the absolute hardest thing, is finding more people to actually reach out to you and selling them. And another thing is emotional clients, right? Like the emotion of actually selling someone is good because they can pay more money. But oftentimes homeowners can be very unreasonable and sometimes make requests that just don't make any sense. All right, so what about B2B, right? Selling to other businesses. By far, one of the best things that is a pro is larger jobs, right? Like instead of your average job being say $7,000 to $15,000 within just homeowners, I know a lot of commercial companies and their average job is between $500,000 and $2 million. Like they do just huge work. Sometimes with just one project, they're doing more than what a residential person would be doing all year. The amount of money in commercial is like just totally insane. Think about building a hospital and how much concrete work that would truly take. It's a lot, right? The other thing that I really like is it's recurring work. So imagine you sell a GC once. They like you, you do a good job. Well, you're not the one who's actually going out and generating that work. That work is happening and is going to the GC, and that GC would hire you out. So once you're in and you have these relationships, you're basically getting fed work over and over and over, okay? So it is less emotional, but the problem with that is that actually leads to lower margins, okay? That's one of the biggest downsides to B2B is they don't really care about you at the end of the day. It's all money, right? When you're working with a business, all they care about is money, and your money can come at the sacrifice of someone else's money. So it's not gonna be emotional. You have to run much leaner if you're going B2B, right? For instance, one of my clients is actually doing $10 million a year in commercial concrete, and it's him and one other person running the entire show. Yes, they have people in the field who help run this field, but there's only 2 people invoicing the jobs, bidding the work. They run extremely lean, but they actually can do that. That's how they keep their prices low enough to sell the volumes they need to, and they're still extremely profitable. A couple other downsides is slow payments, even sometimes no payments at all. I actually did a commercial job before and they stiffed me $50,000. So they owed me $50,000 that I will literally never see. So that can actually happen, right? Very risky and slow payments. The other big thing in commercial is because it's business, right? They hold everything to a contract. So if you sign up for it, you better know what the heck you're doing, because if you sign up for something that was not in your favor, well, you will be held to it, okay? So at the end of the day, what should you pick? For 90% of people, they should just pick a standard B2C, going out, selling normal jobs. Think of driveways, patios, sidewalks, just normal slabs to customers, right? And the main reasons why is it's just a lot easier to break into. It's a lot more beginner friendly. If you wanted to go to the B2B route, what you'd really want is to, number one, you'd want to have a business background, right? Like knowing how to actually serve businesses, knowing how to read legal agreements, knowing how to basically build a team and actually build a system. Without that, this is a lot more dangerous to get into. And on top of that, you're gonna need to have some cash, because even if you go do a project and you don't get paid for about 30 to 90 days, well, you could be going out of business extremely fast. So basically, if you have business knowledge in B2B, you know how to build a business, you have some cash, that may be the better route for you. All right, section number 3 is how do you actually get good at doing concrete, right? Like a lot of people, that's what holds them back from getting in concrete, and it is extremely scary to get into, because they're like, Tyler, I know nothing about concrete. It's a very valid concern. So number one, and by far the safest way, even though I know most of you won't do it because it takes a lot of time, is working for another concrete company, right? And doing that maybe for 1 to 3 years. The beautiful part about this is you can go get paid to learn. Like really think about that. You can go get paid while you're learning from someone else exactly how to do the actual job. But I know a lot of you guys aren't gonna do that because it takes, like what we just said, 1 to 3 years. If you start a concrete company and you have very little experience, you could just be honest with a customer and you could do discounted work, but make the customer know that it's not like gonna be perfect work. There's nothing wrong with being honest and not making a lot of money in the very beginning when you're starting your business, especially if it's a side job, okay? If you go to a customer, and there's some customers, especially people who are looking for small work, and that's the easiest stuff to get into. Maybe they want like some steps repaired, or maybe they want to redo like a really small walkway. And yeah, is the money as good as, say, for instance, doing like a $50,000 driveway? Of course not. But does it allow you to get in and do work that the big companies don't want to do, service a customer, and have the customer basically give someone a shot that doesn't have a lot of experience, but they're gonna get a good deal? There's so many customers who are gonna be willing to work with you if you're just honest. What I would not do is lie about your experience level and basically get involved with like a really big job and all of a sudden lose it and then be on the hook for a $20,000 job that went wrong. Here's a couple other options. Like me, I partnered in my business, right? My partner knew concrete. That was his job. He was gonna do the concrete and run the crews, and I was gonna sell and market it. Again, unless you have someone who you really, really trust, I wouldn't fully recommend this. But here's something else like what I did in my landscape company. I actually started and ran a landscape company that got up to $1 million a year. In just 2 years, I was doing it on the side, so I wasn't even putting that much time into it. But what I did is I went out and I hired someone day one, okay? And they were experts, okay? And that's actually something that we even teach within the Concrete CEO community and Concrete Business Mastery, is how to actually find these people and hire it. What I like about that is you could pay them to do jobs for you as long as you trust them, and you could literally watch how they're doing it as they are getting the job done, and you could even just ask them questions, right? So go out, overpay for someone by like 10 to 15%, pay someone a good bit of money to come work with you. But the cool thing is they'll actually be able to just do the jobs, and you could work with them on the job site and learn everything that you need to know. And don't overcomplicate it. There's tons of videos out there like how to DIY concrete. At the end of the day, there's even another YouTuber named Mike Day, and I'm pretty sure he even has a program that's exceptionally cheap to go and learn how to do concrete, okay? So at the end of the day, it's not really that hard, but don't take on excessive risk and just start slow. You don't have to be rich day one, just get rich eventually, but don't need to get rich fast. What are the tools that you need to run your concrete business? Number one is you need an estimating and CRM, and the one that I like to use and what I always recommend is Jobber, okay? The main reason is Jobber is an all-in-one tool. Everything from storing your clients, managing your calendar, sending out estimates, sending out invoices, and basically your all-in-one business management tool that's specifically meant for contractors is Jobber, okay? If you're interested, I actually have a free trial link down below in the description, so you could go ahead and just check it out. And the main reason why I say that this is probably the main thing that you need in your business is imagine, right? Even if you're doing a small job, let's just say it's a small sidewalk, and you wanna charge the customer $3,000. It's still a lot of money, and that's considered a very small job, okay? But let's just say, like, how else are you gonna send a quote? You're gonna what? Give it to them on like pen and paper? Are you gonna email it, just in an email? It looks extremely unprofessional. I promise you, if you plan to take your business even remotely serious, you have to look the part, right? Like you have to have like a professional estimate, basically just like looking like you actually care. Like it wasn't just some thrown together lemonade stand that you just went outside of your house one day, opened up shop, and people knew that you literally didn't care about your business at all. So get a professional CRM. Really the only other thing that you need is a place to store financial data. So think about it for bookkeeping, tax purposes, etc. And I always recommend QuickBooks. They're probably not the cheapest, but they're the best. And again, this is something that you don't want to mess with because you don't want Uncle Sam coming to you later saying that they want money that you never planned for. That could put yourself in a terrible position. The only other thing that you might want to do for your business right away, and this is totally optional, depends on how much money you have, but you should really look professional with your marketing, right? So again, if the name of the game of this business is getting leads, attracting people, and selling them, then all you want to do is give yourself as big of an advantage as possible, okay? So if you go out to a customer and you say how serious you are, and you have a website, for instance, that looks like either you or your cousin who one time took like a weird social media class, put together your website, you're not gonna look very serious. I'm not saying to lie to people and tell them that you have all this years of experience if you truly don't, but what you wanna at least show people is that you're very serious about running an actual operation. And so if you have the money, absolutely invest into a website, get together good social media, right? Like your Facebook, Instagram, put together a Google My Business page and just look legit because you want to give yourself every advantage you can to actually win work. All right, building your team, okay? Having a business is not just you doing everything and everyone knows that. So hiring people is gonna be absolutely essential, but it's very difficult, right? Like how do you find these people? How much do you pay them? How do you manage them? There's a lot of things, and let's actually get into a lot of that. The very first tip that I have is don't hire too early, okay? In the very beginning of the business, especially when people win work and they start winning work, they're very tempted to scale very fast, right? Hire a lot of people right away, etc. But how you actually make money in this business is by keeping lean. You do not, like a lot of people, they're so afraid, for instance, to spend $5,000 a month in marketing, but then they'll go hire someone and pay them $5,000 a month, even if they don't have any work for them to do. Be extremely careful because obviously what you don't want to do is bring someone in, let them down, and all of a sudden have to fire them. Like just don't hire people too early. You need to make sure that you are stable and you have consistent income before you bring people in. And also you wanna make money. If you wanna make money, you have to run a lean business, especially when you're starting. Here's some flexible options. Because I mean, a lot of you guys are gonna be like, well, Tyler, I mean, that sounds great, but like I can't do jobs by myself. And here's what I would do if I was just starting and you didn't have consistent work just yet, is in concrete, we have this term, right? Like day laborers, day finishers, whatever you wanna call them. There's basically these people out there who are willing to work on a per day or per job basis and come in for you and just be labor. The best part is, and they are a little bit pricey, not really, because concrete work, again, you're very highly paid. They charge anywhere from about $300 to $500 per day, sometimes even a little bit more, depending on where you live. But the thing that I like about it is you could pay for them and they'll come in and do a job for you, but they don't request work the next day, right? You send them on their way. They run their own thing. Their entire business is just being basically flex labor for concrete companies who need it. It's amazing. It's so beautiful. So you can use them when you want. You don't have to use them when you don't have a job. And these people are oftentimes some of the most skilled in the industry because they can make upwards of like $500 to $600 a day. I don't know why I would be an employee if I could make $500 to $600 a day and run my own little side business, basically working for other businesses as a concrete laborer. So they are plentiful out there. If you want one, just literally go to job sites and ask people if they know any day finishers, get their contact information, and you're just gonna have to start sorting through them. Once you actually start getting more consistent work, what you have to realize is to get a good actual concrete person. What do they actually want? They want two things. They want stability and they want to make money, okay? So you've got to pay good and you have to prove to them that you are stable, okay? And finding these guys because of that is going to be extremely tricky because most of them are going to want to work for companies like mine. Why? Because I have a brand, I've been around for a while, they know that we're good, they know that we actually pay, they know that we pay good, etc. So you convincing them to work in your business is going to be very tough. I've seen a lot of people and they go with typical hiring routes like Indeed, something like that. What I have found works the absolute best is targeted Facebook ads, believe it or not. Because think about it, all of the best concrete guys, they're not out there actually looking for jobs. You want to catch them when they're at home sitting on their couch, when their boss just yelled at them for no reason and shows no appreciation to them, and actually put together an ad that gets in front of them. We actually teach how to do this in the Concrete CEO community and actually give away templatized ads so you can basically plug and play and start hiring people basically right away. Also, keep in mind too, to actually hit $100,000 a month, I've seen so many people do it where it's literally just the owner and like 3 people in the field, and that's it. And they make great money if you could do that. So you don't actually need that much people to run $100,000 a month concrete company. The only other thing that I've really seen people need at that level is maybe some like office help, okay? And for instance, what I would do if I was restarting is I would actually hire a VA, basically meaning virtual assistant, someone who works overseas for not very much money, between $4 an hour to $8 an hour. And they could do so many tasks. They could help you with estimating, like actually putting together your estimates. They could help you run your schedule, sending out invoices, light bookkeeping, following up with leads, following up with estimates. They could do so many things that actually free you up as the owner to go make more money. The job platform that I use to actually go out and find these people is onlinejobs.ph. I'll leave a link for that down below in the description. There's some other things that are nice to haves, but are absolutely not must-haves in the very beginning, which is an accounting team where they're basically like running everything for you, like your bookkeeping, payroll, taxes, etc. And then of course your marketing team, right? Again, if marketing is one of the most important things in your business, then you better not do it wrong. So you better either learn how to do it properly, or you're gonna have to pay some serious money to get some help. Like for instance, in my agency, we charge a minimum of $30,000 a year just to work with companies. And on top of that, right, they need ad spend and they need to already be doing 7 figures. So it's not extremely easy, which is why a lot of times why I suggest for people to hire VAs, and how we actually teach people how to do that in our Concrete Business Mastery is hire a VA, give them the actual training material to actually run the marketing for them, because at the end of the day, you still are going to need leads and to be able to sell. All right, now on to the fun stuff, right? How do we actually get the leads and how do we actually turn those leads into money, right? So our growth and scaling strategies. There's a couple strategies that I recommend, and it really just depends on one main thing, which is money. Okay, that's literally it. What I want you guys to think about in life, in business, just in general, you have one of 2 things. Well, you better, or else you're totally screwed. You better have time or money, okay? So if you are starting a business with no money, then the good news for you is I even have some free strategies for you to basically win more work and go out and make money without spending $1. It just requires time. Number 1 is my Dream 100 strategy, and this is by far my favorite for brand new people and people just starting out and people who have a lot of time but not any money, right? Is think about all the people who are around your dream customer. So think of GCs, think of even HOA management companies, think of pool builders, pole barn builders, all kinds of people, and they are around your dream customer. Let's just do an HOA manager as a for instance. As an HOA manager, their customers are building owners, okay? And part of what that HOA manager has to do is keep the property in good standing. Well, what that means is every now and again, right, within an HOA, they need stuff done. They need sidewalks redone, they need some repairs done. And the cool thing is if you reach out to say this HOA property manager and you build up a good connection, you show them that you're good to work with, that you're eager to work, that you just want a shot. Well, the next time that they have concrete work, which happens all the time, if they're any good, well then they call you and you get a lead and a job opportunity for free. The only thing it took you to do is building up a connection. Okay, so, and that happens no matter what, right? Like going after pool builders, pole barn builders, whatever, people who are around your dream customer where that customer needs concrete work, they are amazing to get around. Okay, here's another one. There are members within the Concrete CEO community who are doing over $2 million a year just posting in Facebook groups. So free Facebook groups where basically local neighbors come in, ask questions, ask recommendations. They just basically go in there, get active in the community, post pictures, establish a presence, and people just reach out to them because they look like a good local business. A couple other ones that I like are like networking events, even door knocking. And if you're gonna go door knocking, just go to a new build neighborhood where people are moving into brand new homes and they need concrete work. Like think about it, most people who get new builds just have dirt in their backyard. So what do they probably want? A patio, sidewalk, maybe a hot tub pad. There's all kinds of stuff. Just get out there, go introduce yourself and build connections. That's all it takes is hustle. And like you could literally make $100K a month on hustle alone, never spending a dime on marketing if that's what you wanted to do. And let's just say if you are the opposite, maybe you don't have very much time, but you got a lot of money. Well then what I would recommend is doing a paid strategy and doing Facebook and Instagram ads, okay? There's also TikTok. What I want you to understand about these platforms, and let me give you an example. I find it totally crazy. Just the other day, I was beating myself about my business. I was like, man, I am like quite literally depressed in my business. And that does happen from time to time, by the way. Running a business is not always easy, but I have really bad days sometimes. But what I thought was crazy is I was talking about this to my wife. And like 5 minutes after that, after I was talking to her, I was basically served an ad and the guy's like, do you just hate your business essentially? Well, I have a way out. And I was like, that is insane. What you have to realize are these platforms, we literally have alien technology. I actually learned that Facebook and Instagram and TikTok have over 50,000 data points on a per person basis, which is insane. Like really think about that. Do you even know 50,000 things about yourself? Probably not. But essentially the way Facebook and Instagram ads works is you make ads, ideally very good ones, right? Give money to Facebook and Instagram, and their job is to put that ad in front of people who might be talking about concrete, just like what happened to me. That might be talking about how much they hate their driveway or how they want a patio. That is what Facebook and Instagram do, okay? Serve your ad to the person who has the highest chance to convert. The hardest part is building profitable ads and then learning like how to manage everything on the back end. That's why in Concrete Business Mastery, we actually teach all of this step by step and actually like basically shadow people to make sure that they know how to do it properly, because just as like much as you can make a lot of money on Facebook, you could also lose a lot of money if you don't do it properly. You know, there's other ways to do basically paid advertising like Google ads, Google LSA. You could even do things like flyers, bandit signs, etc. But in my opinion, where I've seen people who basically have nothing and go to making a lot of money really fast, hands down, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok ads. And now you might be thinking, well, Tyler, that sounds great, but like, how much does that actually cost? Like, what are the numbers? And so that leads us to our last section of this training here, which is the numbers, right? So let's break down the numbers of a pretty decent scenario of what it looks like to run a successful $100,000 a month concrete business. So to find out how much to spend on marketing and just like how to budget for your business in general, let's just say that you're shooting for that. Let's just say a little under $100,000 a month, $1 million a year, because that just makes things so easy. So let's just say, yeah, you're aiming to do $1 million a year. And let's just say that you're doing normal jobs. The first thing that I want you to find out is how many jobs you want to, or that you need to sell, and that's all based on what your average job size is. For an average person in concrete, a good average job size is probably around 10,000. So all we have to do is take that $1 million, divide it by $10,000, which means that we need to somehow sell 100 jobs and have the average job be $10,000. Okay, so let's break down really what that means. Like, how do we actually get 100 $10,000 jobs? Well, let's just assume a couple things. Number one is, let's not say that you're gonna have to sell that high of a percentage of people. Let's just say maybe you're not that good at sales, maybe you wanna charge a decent bit of money to make actual profit, etc. So you wanna basically close 1 in 5 or 20% of your qualified leads. Okay, so here's how that math breaks down. Let's just say that you pay for an average Facebook and Instagram lead of about $50, but only about 1 in 2 of those is what's considered a quality lead. That's not very uncommon, right? And so let's just say your average cost per qualified lead is $100, meaning that you need to spend $500 per $10,000 jobs in marketing cost. Okay, so what does that actually look like? And that's if you were to pay for all of your leads. So keep that in mind. If you wanna hustle and go find 500 qualified leads, door knocking, like think about it, that's actually not that bad. There's 300 days a year. Can you not find 2 qualified people just door knocking, like literally on a daily basis? You absolutely could. Are you gonna be unbelievably busy? Yeah, you are. But it's absolutely possible to do just through hustle and grit alone. But in the paid scenario, that's $50,000 in marketing. And you're like, okay, well, Tyler, that sounds like a lot. So how does that actually break down? Let me just give you guys an average concrete business model, right? Let's just say that we have $1 million in revenue. And let's just say that we operate at a decent margin, not amazing margin, but like decent, 40%, meaning that if you sell a $10,000 job, $6,000 is gonna go to labor and material, meaning that you as the business have 40% or $4,000 in gross profit. But that is not all the money that you make as the business owner, right? So think about it. Like if you paid for marketing, you would have had $50,000 in marketing costs. On top of that, let's just say that you were having a VA help you run your marketing, right? Maybe you had a VA and they cost you $18,000 a year, but they were running some of your Facebook ads, all of that back-end stuff. They cost $1,500 a month. That's $18,000 a year. Well, let's not forget trucks, equipment, etc. At that point, you would probably own some of that stuff. That's gonna cost at least $40,000. Let's just say you need some light equipment, like think jackhammers, saws, etc. That's gonna cost $10,000 to $15,000. And then let's just like throw another good solid amount. Let's just say like gas, warranty, some jobs that don't go good. You need some money for education, right? Consultants, accountants, maybe a marketing company. Let's just say that's gonna be $70,000 between all that. And that's pretty normal, right? So essentially what that is that would mean that your business costs you about $188,000 to run. Let's just round up for simple math and say that's $200,000. That's 20% of your income. So if you wanna make this extremely simple, you start with 100%, which is $1 million. 40% is left after 60% is taken out with labor and materials, meaning $400,000 of gross profit. 20% is taken out to run your business, marketing, a little bit of light help, equipment, etc., leaving you as the owner to make $200,000 of income. Okay, and before you get your hopes up too much, number one is I do want to say that's possible. I've seen this with my own eyes multiple times, people working directly with me here at Concrete CEO, where they've been able to do that. They've been able to actually go out and make $200,000+ in their first year. However, what I want to mention is 90% of new businesses go out of business, meaning they never make that kind of money, right? They do not succeed. So what I want to mention to you guys is although this is possible, that does not mean it's easy. Most of it and all of it is gonna come down to your ability as a business owner. And that's why most businesses go out of business, because being a business owner is hard, right? There's a lot of stuff to learn from sales, marketing, right? How to price your jobs, how to run a crew. There's so many things. So it's certainly not a given. Just because the model works, it still requires it to be executed properly. So with that being said, if you've liked this information and you're excited, well then I encourage you to just go out there and get started. Use this video, just basically keep referencing it, and ideally you could just go out and make a lot of money, okay? If you feel like you need a little bit more support and a little bit more guidance, and you might wanna work with our team because we've done this, right? Hundreds of times, quite literally, is walk people through this process step by step and held their hand through the way, taught them deeper stuff, had the ability for them to ask us questions, etc. Well, then I encourage you to book a free strategy session down below with my team. Just click a link. You can watch the video if you'd like, but fill out your information. On the next screen, you'll be prompted to schedule a call with my team. We'll walk you through, build you out a full strategy. And at that point, you can basically choose to either execute that strategy by yourself or work with my team to basically build it with you. Totally up to you. Either way, I hope that you like this video. Leave it a like, subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.